How's it going, everybody? It's Pilot Flame, and we are back for the first FPL stream of the 2021-2022 season. The game launched earlier today. This is my first chance to basically look at it in full. I've been listening to stuff while I've been out, and yeah, seems like a lot of interesting things could happen. So many different prices to choose from. We've seen a lot of the player prices already, but now we have the complete list, and we have that blank sheet that you can see on right behind me. That's the most beautiful sight in FPL when you have a brand new team, 100 million, 0 out of 15 players selected, and it's go time. So yeah, if you haven't done so already, keep it locked and loaded by hitting that like button when this goes over onto YouTube. Subscribe over there as well. That's where we're posting all our FPL content. And here as well, give us a follow, because this is where we're doing our live streams for the season. And if you want to keep up to date with any news or any things in regards to previews to what could be coming out during the week, make sure to follow us over on Twitter. So be sure to check that out as well. But let's not waste any more time. Without further ado, let's get into it. So hopefully I've changed up the setup a little bit. For whatever reason, my webcam needs to be adjusted slightly. I will fix that on the fly, as we can normally do. There we go. Slide that over. We'll move over a little bit. And bam. Just like that. Good stuff. So we've kind of altered the screen just a little bit. I've got the season ticker here from Fantasy Football Scout. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. There we go. That looks lovely. Lovely stuff. So we can see that in full to make it a lot easier for you. And I've even gone ahead and made it so that everything is all nice. I've quickly done it, and I kind of minimized all the stuff that doesn't really matter at the moment, like the league code, because I haven't even created it yet. So yeah, but just to start off, Brakicic has followed while we were offline, so thank you so much for that. Now, here we go. We got 100 million to spend, 2 goalkeepers, 5 defenders, 5 midfielders, 3 forwards. You know the gist. This is how we're gonna do it. Got all the nice new jerseys as well for all the different players. Let's see what Martinez looks like. This is just kind of plain, no real sponsor on it by the looks of it. Some of them don't have sponsors on their jerseys, which is a bit weird. Maybe they're changing their sponsors, something like that. Like United's is an example. It's just a plain old jersey, so maybe they're gonna change those, I guess, as the season goes on. Liverpool, they already know what the sponsor is on the front of it, but I guess United, since they haven't actually released the jersey itself, maybe they don't get to put it on there, but we will see on that front. But yeah, let's check out some of the prices here and see what is what for everything. So you should be able to see me scrolling up on the side. You are fantastic. So the first thing I want to look at, I want to go team by team to look at the players based on how they finished in the Premier League. Now I'm probably going to get some slightly out of place, so I'm going to kind of go with it that way. So the first team I want to take a look at, because we didn't actually get all of their prices, was Manchester City. So this is going to be the interesting one here. So I can get most of them on the screen here. But if we look here, Ederson 6 million, no real surprises there. We got that beforehand. Diaz was 6 million, so Cancelo is coming at 6 million as well. But this is very interesting. All the fullbacks seem to have come in at 5.5 million, as well as John Stones. So maybe in the City defense, if you're going to go that way, Stones is probably the one. Although Laporte and Stones were playing a little bit of bit-part role. However, I do think that Stones is definitely the nailed-on defender, and 5.5 million could be quite good for John Stones. Obviously, Diaz is going to be the nailed defender. You'll pay 6 million for him happily. Cancelo at 6 million could still be a bit of a risk, in my opinion. I think if you're going to go for clean sheets and stuff like that, you know, if City play the way that they played last season, Diaz is definitely the one there as well. And then Ake's 5 million, who you may see more time, but Zinchenko could be the starting left back, almost certainly, and Walker maybe the starting right back. So we'll have to see on that front. Midfield. Now, this is where things get interesting. So, Harrison, you might know him from Leeds. Well, he's actually a player who was on loan from Manchester City. Now, if he goes back to Leeds, 6 million could be an absolute bargain for him. I think that is very, very cheap. They've been very generous. Leeds' fixtures right off the bat are, they're a bit mixed. So it could be a Spurs team. It's actually showing City's fixtures, but if he does play for City, then not too bad. We'll have to check Leeds' fixtures. But if I remember correctly, Leeds' fixtures off the start were pretty kind of hit and miss. So you have Man United, which could be a scoring game. You could get something like that. Everton's defense wasn't the greatest. But they would be away from home there. Burnley would be okay. Liverpool, they had a big shootout with them in the opening start to last season. Newcastle, they can get something. West Ham would be a bit difficult. So that would be interesting for him there. Gundogan's come in at 7.5 million, so we expected the price increase. And he kind of tailed off a bit towards the end of last season, so it'd be a bit interesting to see how he progresses in Man City's team. Sterling at 11 million. Now, I know he scored twice for England, but let's not get ourselves carried away. He's not first choice at Manchester City. That's for sure. Riyad Mahrez, 9 million. Maybe a bit expensive for someone that could be rotation or rotated out of the team. Kevin De Bruyne, 12 million. We saw that. Phil Foden is the interesting one. Phil Foden and Ferran Torres are the two that I'm very interested in, because Ferran Torres could potentially be that new false nine that Pep was looking for. He played it a few times in the Premier League last season and did quite well and was very successful. Phil Foden, 8 million, could be quite cheap for someone starting on the left wing for City game in, game out. So we'll have to see kind of how Pep lines them up, or what system they go with, because if Harry Kane comes in, that could change things altogether. De Bruyne drops back into the midfield, which means Gundogan doesn't get in the box as much and kind of plays in the midfield too. Everything is kind of funneled through Kane. Does Gundogan get dropped altogether? Does Foden start regularly? Does he go with something a bit more consistent for holding the width in like Sterling and Mahrez? We don't know. But one thing is for certain, Kevin De Bruyne, 12 million. He's going to be expensive. He's going to be a premium asset. And for City's fixtures, the opening three, they're not terrible. Arsenal at home. Arsenal are, in fact, a mid-table club at the moment. They haven't made any signings that I know of as of yet. They are looking at Ben White, I think. But will that progress them enough to, make their way into, top 6, top 4? They need a little bit more than that, I think. They need a creative midfielder. They probably need a center back. They need a right back. And maybe one other player. But, Arsenal and Norwich should be fairly easy games for City. And if they take Harry Kane away from Spurs, I think they should be more than comfortable beating Spurs on the opening fixture as well for them. And then Leicester away, that's going to be tough. Southampton at home. So if you look at their opening 5... Leicester's probably the only tricky one in my opinion, assuming they get Kane. Obviously, if Kane's on Spurs, that could be a little bit on the difficult side. And it'd be very ironic if Spurs were to lose to City, and that without City didn't have Kane, and then Kane were to end up going there as kind of like a parting gift. Yeah, well, I lost to City, but yeah, I'm gonna be leaving anyway. So, yeah. But yeah, that could be definitely interesting. Jesus, 8.5 million. Again, not really looking at him personally. So the City price is definitely interesting. I think Foden could be very underpriced. I think Ferran Torres could be a fantastic price, as well as being a midfielder who might be playing the false 9 role if they don't go and get Kane. That'd be very interesting to see how they go about doing that. And De Bruyne kind of being like the player that kind of rotates positions with him. Second place was Manchester United. We got the full team for them as well before the game was launched. So we have De Gea and Henderson. Now this is a very interesting prospect, because there's been reports that come out today that says De Gea does not want to leave Manchester. He's very happy in Manchester. He wants to stay. He wants to be the number 1 goalkeeper, as he has been. And they've conveniently priced both Henderson and De Gea at 5 million. Now, I'm a Man United fan, and I still don't know who's going to be the number 1 choice goalkeeper. If I had to guess, I would say it's probably Dean Henderson. But I would say that that's probably not a likely situation to be betting on, basically. I wouldn't be going in and saying, oh, 100% Dean Henderson. I'm saying it's literally 50-50 De Gea or Dean Henderson. or 51-49. Like, it's very, very close. In terms of the defenders, so the main defenders, Wan-Bissaka, Maguire, Shaw, those are going to be 3 out of your 4 main starters, and they're priced at 5.5. I think Shaw is a very good price at 5.5 million, assuming he stays fit. Wan-Bissaka, 5.5 million. If he improves his attacking output, and let's say a Sancho comes in, he could see his attacking output improve, which could be quite interesting. Lindelof, Bailly, Telles, 5 million. Tuanzebe at 4.5 million. Now, Brandon Williams at 4 million could be very interesting as well. He is a 4 million fodder. He is a Manchester United player. However, he could be going on loan to a potential Premier League club. He's being touted around by some Championship and Premier League clubs, so that could be interesting. A 4.0 starting defender for a Premier League club, maybe like a Newcastle or something like that, one of the lower Premier League clubs, or maybe one of the teams that's just been promoted. Moving on to the midfield, so Fernandes, we saw 12 million, no real surprises there. I was actually surprised he didn't come in at 12.5. Rashford at 9.5 million. I think that was the same that he came in at last season. Lingard, 7 million. Obviously, we forgot about him. He was playing at West Ham, but I think would be an okay price at 7 million for West Ham. Mason Greenwood comes in at the same price, 7.5 million that he started off last season, I believe. It was either 7 or 7.5. So he's in there. And if Jadon Sancho doesn't come in, I think he could be a bargain, basically. Paul Pogba, not really interested. McTominay, Fred, James, Matic, Van de Beek, all not really interested. The forwards, they've been closely priced. Again, Cavani, 8.5 million. He was very good, but again, picks up injuries. Martial is a forward, could see a lot of time on the left this season. It didn't play well last season in the minutes that he did play. So we will have to see how that kind of shakes out for Manchester United. Moving on to third place here for last season was Liverpool. Now, Liverpool obviously has Alisson in goal. He's 6 million as well. So one thing you've noticed is the United goalkeepers are 5 million. And the other 2 goalkeepers for Liverpool and City are still 6 million, which is very, very interesting that they've gone and priced them in that way. Let's actually go back. I'm just going to quickly look back at the United fixtures now that we have the FDR situation open. So United in the opening 6 could be fantastic. So you have Villa, Newcastle, Wolves, Southampton, Leeds, and West Ham all in the opening 6. Obviously, they have a terrible run of form from Everton, with Watford sandwiched in there from Chelsea, and it would probably be a situation where you'd want to jump off the bandwagon here, basically, or have United players kind of moved out and then get back on them when they have this absolutely ridiculous run from game week 14 over the Christmas period into January, into February, and then they have kind of a mixed bag to end the season. So, yeah, United got the short end of the stick when it comes to game week 7 onwards. So yeah, that could be quite interesting there. Liverpool, so they came third place. Like I said, Alisson is 6 million. Okay, interesting there. We got that one beforehand. I believe we got all of Liverpool's prices. So Robertson maintains his price at 7 million. Alexander-Arnold, 7.5 million, even though he got one less point. So that could be quite interesting. Van Dijk maintains his price at 6.5 million. And Konate, who comes in at 5.5 million, could be a cheap way into the Liverpool defense if you didn't want to go for the more expensive Robertson, Van Dijk, and Trent Alexander-Arnold. Another 4.0 defender could be Nico Williams. He is also potentially going to be moving on loan somewhere as well. So these types of defenders could be quite crucial if they were to go to other teams, because they would still maintain their price. Their price doesn't change when they move to another team. Moving on to the midfielders, so Salah versus Mane. Again, Mo Salah, somebody who has come in at 12.5 million once again. He's going to be in everyone's teams. I mean, Liverpool's fixtures off the start are fantastic. They don't really have a rough patch until from like 18 to like game week 30, where they have a couple of games from 22 to 26, which look pretty decent. They have a good end to the season. But all things considered, Salah's going to be in everyone's team for this opening 6 or opening 8, I would say at least. Assuming he does not go to, I believe it was saying that he was going to go to the Olympics or something like that. Sadio Mane, again, 12 million. I would like to have seen him come in at 11.5 personally, because that would at least make, you have to make a decision, whereas in this case you just put Salah in your team. I mean, I'm actually going to go ahead and do that just to save me the trouble, because he's just going to be in everyone's team, isn't he? Other midfielders, Jota 7.5, intriguing, but probably not what I'm looking for personally. Fabinho, Henderson, Thiago, Curtis Jones, Minamino, Milner, Shaqiri, Chamberlain, Keita, not really of interest. Firmino, still way too overpriced. If he'd have come in at like 7.5, that'd have been interesting. But 9 million again, not really what we're looking for. Just way too expensive. And then Origi, obviously not an FPL option. Moving into 4th place. Who came 4th place? It was Chelsea, I believe. Chelsea, so we have Mendy, who comes in at 6 million. Chilwell, also 6 million, alongside Azpilicueta. But Reece James, Zuma, Antonio Rudiger, Thiago Silva, and Alonso all come in at 5.5 million, with Christensen as the 5 million defender. Now, this could be very intriguing depending on what Chelsea do in the transfer market. I'll be very interested and very intrigued to see if they actually go and do some business for a center back. Chilwell being 6 million could be a bargain there as well. I think he was excellent for Chelsea, and I think he is Tuchel's long-term fullback in that left wing back slot. Moving into the midfield, you got Mason Mount, 7.5 million. I think he's going to be overlooked by a lot of different managers. I mean, Chelsea's fixtures, off the first 6 aren't the greatest. They have Crystal Palace. They have Aston Villa at home. Liverpool away is put as an FDR rating of 3, which is a bit interesting to me. Maybe because of their defensive woes, but I think that's definitely a struggle. So their opening 3 isn't great. Their opening 6 is 4 out of the supposed big 6 they have to play. But this is where you really want Chelsea. The 7 through 11, that looks to be a good spell. 28 through 33, that looks to be a good spell as well, and maybe potentially to the end of the season. So maybe Mount's in consideration there. Havertz actually comes in as a midfielder, 8.5 million. Could be in a lot of FPL teams, been playing well for Germany. So I think he could be quite good as well. But maybe a bit too expensive, potentially for our initial teams. And with the fixtures, it could be something better. There are obviously some other players which could be of interest as well. Ross Barkley at 5.5 million. Played at Aston Villa on loan last season. Gallagher, who played at West Brom, is now back at Chelsea. Could potentially see another loan move for 5.5 million. Loftus-Cheek, another one, was on loan. Hudson-Odoi is at 5.5 million. Maybe he sees a loan move potentially. And yeah, it could be very interesting for those sorts of players. ZX, 7.5 million. Potentially intriguing, but I think he could be too risk of rotation. And then the Chelsea strikers, I mean, they have a lot of them. They have Olivier Giroud, 6.5 million. Tammy Abraham at 6.5 million, who is potentially being moved on by Thomas Tuchel. He may be going to the likes of West Ham, or he may be going to, somebody else. We'll have to see, but 6.5 million for Tammy Abraham could be quite astute. Even Michy Batshuayi at 5.5 million could potentially be okay, but wouldn't hold my breath on that one. And then Timo Werner, 9 million, again, just a bit too expensive. I think he's definitely going to do better this season, but for the opening fixtures, 9 million is a lot to spend when you play Man City, Spurs, Arsenal, and Liverpool in the opening 6. Maybe a potential wild card for game week 7 and get players in for this run, for Chelsea, could be quite good. Fifth place, we're going to take a look at Leicester, because I don't believe we got all of their prices either. So Schmeichel comes in at 5 million, as we saw, which is, again, very interesting. Another goalkeeper, a very good goalkeeper, for a team that kept 11 clean sheets, could have kept way more last season, made 88 saves, did quite well. And yeah, I think Schmeichel could potentially be overlooked here. 5 million is a very good price for him. A very, very good price. Another player here is James Justin, somebody who's been out for quite a while. And James Justin was somebody who was doing well up until he received that injury. Again, his return date is unknown. So this was like the same situation with Pereira. Maybe he's out and keeps coming back and getting re-injured. We will have to see, but someone to keep an eye on as well. 5 million. I believe he came in at 4.5 million last season, and when he was even at 5 million, he was still a steal. So we'll have to see kind of what Brendan Rodgers goes with, because I mean they have Pereira at 5.5 million, Castagne at 5.5 million. They have Evans. They have Soyuncu, who's at 5 million. They have Fofana, who's 4.5 million. Now, I think this could be one of the gifts of the season. I mean, Fofana played 2,260 minutes across the Premier League. If we look at James Justin's minutes, he played just shy of 2,100. So Fofana was definitely still playing lots and lots and lots and lots of minutes. If we compare that to Soyuncu only played 1,800 minutes due to his injury. Johnny Evans, who played quite a lot of minutes, played 2,400 minutes. So it's not like Fofana wasn't playing games. Castagne, 2,300 minutes. So Fofana definitely got his fair share. And I think he could be very, very good at 4.5 million there as well. Leicester's midfielders are very intriguing as well. Barnes and Maddison both coming in at 7 million. I think that's a fair price for both of them. They both have had injuries, but they're both fantastic players on their day. The rest of the midfielders, not really interested. Tielemans, maybe if he was 6 million, you could probably entertain the argument. But I think 7 million, 0.5 more for Maddison and Barnes. Again, no real decisions. If you want to go Tielemans, you might as well just go Maddison or Barnes, because they're just better players, closer to the goal, more involved, and whatnot. And then Jamie Vardy and Iheanacho, again, still a decision to be made. I mean, Iheanacho isn't cheap by any sense of the imagination. 7.5 million is firmly in the mid bracket, but he was on fire. Jamie Vardy going up 0.5 million. I don't think it's necessarily justified, although 15 goals, 14 assists last season is a good return for Vardy. In previous seasons, 23 goals, 7 assists, 18 goals, 5 assists. So he definitely increased his creativity, which may show a change in his role to be a bit more balanced, which would mean that he maybe not necessarily gets the big goal scoring tallies, but he may get the more holes in FPL with like goal assist one game, 2 assists the next game, goal in the next game, goal assist the next game, that sort of thing. That could be quite intriguing. But I think 10.5 million is just a bit too steep. Maybe if you hold 2 million in the bank and you're going to be switching to Kane at one point, that could be a possibility. To have him on opening day against Wolves, and then transfer him out for Kane, assuming Kane goes to City, so then you can have him versus Norwich at home in his fresh team. Sixth place, I can't remember who came sixth, if I remember correctly. I want to say it must have been West Ham, of course. West Ham. So Fabianski, again, 5 million. I think it's just a bit too expensive for Fabianski. 10 clean sheets isn't bad. 102 saves. He will rack up the save points, Fabianski. So he is still a decent enough goalkeeper. Cresswell, again, sticking with the kind of wing-back, full-back style of defenders. I think Cresswell could be quite effective in West Ham's team on set pieces. They have a good few opening for fixtures. Again, they are versus Leicester in Game Week 2, but Newcastle, Crystal Palace, Southampton, you could expect good things there. Again, Man United at home probably isn't the greatest, but then Leeds and Brentford after that could be quite good for Aaron Cresswell. Soufal, probably too expensive in my opinion. If you're going to go for a fullback, it's probably going to be Cresswell. You'll pay that extra 0.5, I think, in order to get him, in your team. Basically, I think he's just going to be the better player if you're going to go that route. However, the interesting situation is that they do have a few 4.5 million defenders here. Masuaku is somebody who I had in my team for a few weeks, and he was constantly injured and never really played. But if he does play, 4.5 million into the West Ham defense for a wingback is fantastic, in my opinion. Yeah, could be quite interesting. Hey Zach, how's it going? Quick shout out to all the virgins that broke their F5, keep refreshing the page. For 1 hour today just to get their low team ID. Yeah, I haven't even completed my team. I don't really care about the team ID. After about like a few weeks, I would just remember the number anyway. But Andy from Let's Talk FPL got number 2, which is interesting. So he was definitely mashing the button, but I don't really care. Team ID doesn't really matter to me. If you know the number, you know the number. Like, it's whatever. I just hope I get a nice number, whatever it is. It's easier to remember. But yeah. Moving on to the midfielders. Souček again, 6 million. We saw that. Probably a bit too expensive for him personally to go there. It's probably better prices at 6 million, like Harrison as an example. Benrahma could be interesting at 6 million though, someone who's very involved in the play. And then Antonio at 7.5 million. A lot of people would be looking at him to potentially deliver. Basically, he's been constantly injured. So 118, 111, 118. So just barely 2,000 minutes in 2018-19, but hasn't really gotten a lot of minutes because he's been injured for several portions of the season. I got 1, 2, 3. So that means you were one of those people that were mashing the button, basically. I'm just going to shake my head. All right. In 7th place, I believe, was Spurs. So let's take a look at them. That's my 3 first numbers when you're counting. My team ID was 17K. Oh, okay. Gotcha. I gotcha. Lloris, 5.5 million. Again, probably not an option. Reguilon and the rest of Spurs defenders all come in at 5 million. So not a very good defensive team, Spurs. But they could be potentially looked at as cheaper defensive options. Their fixtures out the gate, from what I remember, were not entirely good. So they have Man City to start, obviously. Excuse me, not great. Wolves away, Watford at home, Crystal Palace away. So those 3 games could be good. Those 3 games could definitely be good. And then they have a little decent run in here. And they're kind of just spotty. Spurs are going to potentially be on-off with these fixtures. And if they don't have Kane, it could be very interesting. Rodon, if he's a starting defender, 4.5 million could be good. But otherwise than that, not really interested there. Son is the main kicker, 10 million. I think that's going to be a bit too expensive for what we're looking at. 17668. Nice. And yeah, I think Son's going to be a bit too expensive. And the rest of them are just going to be basically no-goes, effectively. Dele Alli, 6.5 million. Winks, 4.5 million. Sissoko is even 4.5 million. And then the big kicker, Harry Kane, 12.5 million. Coming off a fantastic season of 23 goals and 14 assists. An absolute monstrous season. Even better than his points tally when he got 29 goals, 7 assists back in 2016-17. He smashed that because he doubled his assist total. And yeah, did quite well. 8th place, I believe, ended up being Arsenal. Sterling at 11 million, what a bargain. Yeah, I think that's because mainly he's scoring in the Euros. Yeah, that's what can you do there? So, some of the Arsenal players are a bit intriguing price-wise. So Leno 5 million, definitely not going to go there. Holding at 4.5, it could be interesting. Tierney is someone who, if he can stay fit, I mean, he still ended up playing, close to 2,300 minutes last season after being injured on and off for the whole season. But 5 million could be a fantastic price. Arsenal's fixtures out the gate, they have Brentford away to start, have 2 rough games, and then from game week 4 to game week 9 could be quite a good option on paper. Bellerin comes in at 5 million. Chambers, who was doing quite well, comes in at 4.5 million. A lot of the Arsenal defenders have come in very, very cheap, and that's because I think FPL finally realizes, hey, Arsenal's kind of a 10th place team. We're like mid-table, so we're gonna have to price them down a bit. Midfielders, Pepe, 7.5 million, could be interesting, but not really that much so. Saka at 6.5 million could be very, very nice. Willock, who's come back to Arsenal after being on loan and did quite well at Newcastle, could be back out. 6 million for Willock. Would you pay that over at Newcastle? Maybe, but probably not, personally. And Newcastle's fixtures, if we take a look at them really quickly. West Ham, Villa, Southampton, Man United in the opening 4, Leeds and Watford. They're not bad, but they're not great either. And then Martinelli at 5.5 million again. If he's played, he could be quite good. Let's see. And then the forwards, we got Aubameyang has returned to the forward line as a 10 million forward. I think this is too expensive. I think he'd even be expensive at 9 million personally. Only 10 goals last season, a very low points score for him. And I don't think he's going to be very good as an FPL option. He's going to be very much in the Firmino bracket. Whereas Lacazette at 8.5 million, again, could potentially be a rotation risk, could be on his way out the door, who knows. But Arsenal, after the first game, not great in 2 and 3, but just maybe they might be good from game week 4 to game week 9. We will see. Who came 9th place? I want to say it was Leeds, so we'll go to Leeds next. We got the full price listing, so Meslier at 5 million. Luke Ayling at 4.5 million. Could be quite good if he plays at fullback for the whole season, rather than at center back. And all the defenders are 4.5, so you might as well just pick the most attacking, which is probably going to be Luke Ayling. Dallas, obviously, played in midfield quite a lot, and is, as expected, a midfielder this season. And the reason he got so many points was because he was a defender. So now Ayling is probably going to shine over the likes of Dallas. Dallas also 5.5 million. The big kicker, though, is that Rafinha is 6.5 million. Now Leeds off the start don't have that great of fixtures, although I think the Everton fixture is still fine for them. Burnley is good. Liverpool is potentially okay as well. Newcastle's definitely good, and then they have a really nice run from 7 to 10 as well. So definitely gonna be interesting there. Hey Chopper, how's it going? FPL is live, and it's live. In terms of the other midfielders, we already mentioned Harrison, who comes in at 6 million, although he's not in their team as of yet because he is currently a Manchester City player, as he was on loan to them last season. Bamford comes in at 8 million. I think that's way overpriced. Pick Money Mace. I mean Mason, Mason as in Mason Mount or Mason Greenwood. There's 2 Masons, remember. Could pick both of them, to be honest. But both of them are actually 7.5 million too. But Mason Mount could be quite good. The only thing that I worry about is Chelsea Chelsea's fixtures off the start aren't the greatest. But Mount is someone, he's going to be, you know, kind of that player that kind of just ticks along, does what he needs to do, picks up goals every now and again, picks up assists every now and again, and it's going to be very consistent throughout the whole season. So be very interesting to see him. Although he has stepped it up a level towards the back half of the season, and also in the Champions League, and now obviously in the Euros has been playing pretty well as well. So could be interesting there. 10th place, I believe, was Everton, if I remember correctly. So Everton, their defenders, Digne comes in at 5.5 million. I think he's going to be a shoo-in in a lot of teams. Their opening fixture: Southampton at home, Leeds away, Brighton away, Burnley. Oh, excuse me, we got it quite a lot. At home, Aston Villa away, and Norwich at home are fantastic opening 6 fixtures. Could be very, very good for Luca Digne. Holgate comes in at 4.5, which is, I guess he's more prone to being rotated, and could be quite interesting. Coleman at 5 million. They might dip into the transfer market to ultimately replace him. Keane and Godfrey coming in at the same price is very interesting as well. In terms of midfielders, James Rodriguez at 7 million. I believe last season he came in at 7.5, so he's a lot cheaper than what he was before, but is very injury prone. So we'll have to see kind of how he plays out. But I still think that could be money better spent. And then Calvert-Lewin at 8 million. I mean, with the start that Everton have, I'm just going to whack Calvert-Lewin in there. No problem. I'm actually probably going to put Luca Digne in there as well, I think. Just too good to pass up on, in my opinion. 11th place. Who came 11th place? Who came 11th? I want to say it was Aston Villa, if I remember correctly. So Aston Villa, Martinez. Obviously, the sad thing is Martinez is now 5.5 million. Villa's fixtures off the start, though, are quite good. You know, 3 games: Watford away, Newcastle at home, Brentford at home. But then from game week 4 to game week 10, have an awful run of fixtures. Yeah, it doesn't look ideal for them. But the opening 3 could be quite good. Could be easy points for them. Defender-wise, the only defender that come in at 4.5 is Gilbert, Engels, and House. The rest of them, Konsa, Cash, Mings, Target, and Ashley Young, who is re-signed for Villa, are all 5 million, so not likely gonna go there. In terms of the midfielders, we got Jack Grealish at 8 million, who could be a bargain at that price, assuming he stays fit. He's obviously looked fantastic in the Euros when he has played. And then Watkins at 7.5 million. He comes in at 0.5 less than Bamford. So I think if you're just going to pick Bamford, you might as well just pick Watkins. Watkins is a better opening 3. And you can always potentially switch to Bamford after the fact if you have the extra cash. So I think that should be fine. 12th place, I believe, if I remember correctly, ended up being Newcastle, funnily enough. Darlow and Dubravka. So Dubravka, I believe, is going to be the starting goalkeeper for Newcastle. And he comes in at 4.5 million. They have a bit of a mixed bag to open up. But if you can get him in a rotation with another goalkeeper, which we'll have to kind of see if that's the case, then it could be quite good. Richie is the only 5 million defender for them. Clark, Kraft, Lascelles, Lewis, Dummett, and Schär all come at 4.5, which is very, very cheap. And it seems like they've just kind of defenders across the board. They've kind of just taken their prices down quite a lot. Now, these midfielders could be quite interesting. So you got the likes of Fraser, You have Almiron in there, 5.5 million, could be a bargain if they get regular minutes and they are actually playing well. And then St. Maximin was 5.5 million last season, didn't do well. This season he comes in at 1 million more expensive, and he's a forward, so I think he's a no-go. I think if you're going to go with somebody, it's got to be the main man up top. The one who probably kept them out of relegation, to be honest, which was Callum Wilson. Opening fixture versus West Ham isn't ideal. Aston Villa away could be a bit tricky, and Southampton at home. But Callum Wilson could potentially be good to start off the season. 13th place. Can't remember who that was. It wasn't Brighton. Was it Wolves, maybe? Let's go to Wolves. So we got Patricio, who could be on his way out for 5 million. Again, 5 million. I do like the price reduction there. Semedo, Saiss, Bali, the main starters are all coming in at 5 million. But Johnny Otto, who's somebody who has been injured for quite a while, could come in straight back into the team, depending on how the manager plays them. But at 4.5 million would be a very cheap option into the defense. But you can also just go with Mr. Consistent and go with Cody, who comes in at 4.5 as well. Neto, 6.5 million, the most expensive of the midfielders. Podence, somebody that we are ranting and raving about, 5.5 million. He's supposed to be back on August 1st. And if he starts, could be quite good. And then last but not least, Raul Jimenez, someone who missed a lot of last season. He scored 4 goals and 1 assist in the 800 minutes that he did play before his injury that saw him out for the rest of the season. Will he come back the same player? We don't know. But if he's looking any good by the time Game Week 4 rolls around, he could be a nice, easy transition from Watkins to Jimenez in Game Week 4. So if we look at, so we see Jimenez's fixtures from Game Week 4 to Game Week 9 look fantastic. And then if we look at Watkins's fixtures, Game Weeks 1 through 3 is where he starts, basically. So yeah, that could be very, very interesting indeed. What else do we have here? So Wolves was 13th. 14th would have been, so who do you have remaining? We have Southampton, Palace, Brighton, Burnley. So 14th, I guess, would have been like Crystal Palace. Now Guaita, again, another one. Could be very interesting. For the likes of a rotating goalkeeper option, and is someone who on his day can be quite good. 10 clean sheets in 2019-20, just the 8 in 2020-2021 for a Palace team that finished bottom third of the table. Again, could be very interesting. We'll have to see. Ferguson, someone who was expected to be, this really good defender, hasn't come into the league at all and is at 4.5 million, so no one's going to probably go near him, unfortunately. And if you are going to go for Palace defender, it would be Mitchell, but he's 4.5 million, so again, not ideal. Zaha comes in at 7 million. Again, I think that if you're just going to go for somebody, you just go for one of the Leicester midfielders. I just think he just seems to always be quite underwhelming every time you really think he's going to do well. Eze, he's going to be out for a very long time. And Christian Benteke, 6.5 million, could be a bit of a bargain, but again, Opening fixtures for the opening 6 aren't ideal, having to play West Ham, Tottenham, Liverpool, and Chelsea in the opening 6, with Leicester and Arsenal added on to that in the opening 8. 15th, I believe, was Southampton. So again, rotating goalkeeper potentially as an option here with McCarthy and Forster. So we have, okay goalkeeper, but again, only real good fixtures in the opening 6 is Wolves and Newcastle. The rest of them are a bit rubbish. Then they have a decent set of fixtures from 9 until 12, so potentially could be okay there. In defense, Walker Peters and Vestergaard being the 2 most expensive defenders. Again, not really ideal there. Ward-Prowse, 0.5 more than all of his other competitors at 6.5 million. Maybe at 6 million you're tempted, but with these opening fixtures, probably not. Che Adams, 7 million. That's probably way too expensive for Che Adams personally. 8 million for Danny Ings it's probably about right. 7.5 would definitely make it enticing. But Everton, Man United, Newcastle, West Ham, Man City, Wolves, Chelsea, opening 7. This is probably where you want Ings, maybe. In that section, this section here, and maybe this section as well. But yeah, Southampton have a bit rough in the opening start. Then who do we have? I believe it's Burnley and then Brighton, I think, is the last 2 teams. For the teams that finished 1 through 17. So Nick Pope maintains his position at 5.5 million again. Only 11 clean sheets. I think it would have been nice if he would have came down to 5 million, but again, can't really complain too much there. Ben-Mee and Tarkowski now the same price at 5 million. Taylor, Peters, Loughton coming at 4.5 million. Those are quite nice prices. Burnley's fixtures off the start are a bit of a mixed bag. And you probably want them maybe potentially for this run at the end of the season. But otherwise than that, not really too much. They have to show their form of old if we want to see anything there. Brownhill is definitely an interesting one because he was playing a decent bit of games, but that was mainly because of their injuries in midfield. And a 4.5 million could be a little bit of a fodder, as it were, in there. Chris Wood comes in at 7 million, the most prevalent striker for Burnley, and could be an interesting prospect. But again, I wouldn't be banking my hopes on Chris Wood. And then lastly, we go to Brighton, which is very, very exciting because they have Robert Sanchez, who is their #1 goalkeeper, and they do have good fixtures to start the season and could provide a great rotation with another goalkeeper, if we can kind of take a look at it, all the way up and until and including game week 19. So the only real bad fixtures they have for the entire part of that season up to game week 19. Everton at home could be still an easy fixture. Leicester could be difficult, I think. Man City could be difficult. And Man United could be difficult. The rest of them, they could easily get a clean sheet against. So I think Sanchez could be a shoe-in goal. So I'm going to put him in there. A lot of the Brighton defenders come in quite cheap. I mean, Lamptey, as an example, was somebody who was highly thought of, did quite well, just was unlucky with injuries, was always a bit of a tease and in FPL terms, and could be quite good for the opening few, and could be rotated as a defender. So like, if again you find a defender that is good in game week 3, game week 5, game week 9, 10, maybe like 14, 16, and 18, then you're looking okay. Midfield, Trossard, 6.5 million, probably not going to go there. Rest of the midfielders, not really interested. Again, Basuma, 4.5 million, but Motor was 4.5 million, so maybe you pick him over Basuma, but Basuma's going to start, so it is what it is there. And then the forwards, Mopé, 6.5 million, Connolly, 5.5 million, not really interested there. Now, with the promoted teams, we will start with the team that came first. which is Norwich. So they have McGovern and Krul. So as expected, Tim Krul starting goalkeeper. But again, if you look at their fixtures to open up, they are not good at all. But they do get better from game week 5 until game week 14. And could potentially, if you look at like Sanchez's fixtures in the opening 4, Sanchez's fixtures in the opening 4 are quite good. But again, you need Leicester at home, Man City at home, Liverpool away. So that's what, 5, 9, 10, 5, 9, 10, 18 to be covered. Can Krul do that? Well, 5 is Watford at home. 10 is Leicester at home. It's not terrible. 9, Chelsea away. No go there. 14, Newcastle. So maybe it could be on there for a potential rotation with Tim Krul. All the Norwich defenders are 4.5, which is as expected. Their midfielders, 5.5 for Cantwell is their most expensive. Obviously, they sold Buendia, who now plays or will be in the game for Villa. And Timu Pukki comes in at 6 million as well. No surprises there. The team who came second place in the championship is Watford and the cycling goalkeeper known as Ben Foster. Now, Ben Foster is 4 million, and Watford have great fixtures to start the season. However, he is not first choice. Bachmann is most likely going to be first choice from what we know, hence why he's priced higher. And Foster could be the backup going into this season. All the defenders are 4.5 million that are most likely going to start. So obviously Danny Rose, who's gone there, is 4.5 million. Kiko, I think it's Kiko Firmino. What is his name? Cavaselli is another one there. They could all be, very cheap defenders for good fixtures to start off with. 5 million for a lot of midfielders. Sarr is the main one, hence why he's priced at 6 million. He's going to be the main threat for Watford. And then João Pedro and Andre Gray are the two main ones at 5.5 million that could be the goal scorers for Watford. So be sure to look out for them as well. And then lastly, we have the much talked about Brentford. Raya will be their goalkeeper most certainly. Their defenders are all 4.5 million, apart from Good, who's 4 million. This Mbeumo is highly talked about, and hence why he's the most tied for the most expensive midfielder and could be quite effective. And then Ivan Toney is the main man for them. He is someone who could do quite well at 6.5 million. It could be a very good enabler there as well. So I think that is all of the teams that I've gone through. I've gone through all of them. Went through Arsenal, Villa, Brentford, Brighton, Burnley, Chelsea, Crystal Palace, Everton, Leeds, Leicester. Yep, I believe we went through all of them. So now it's time to build a team. So I'm going to take a look at the goalkeeper situation first. So let's organize this based on defense. And I'm going to look at the first 19 if I can. Because the first 19 game weeks show who has the best overall fixtures for the whole season, but it also shows me who has good fixtures to rotate with. So basically, where there's a blue, I want to, or where there's a red, I want to get a blue in replace of it. So Sanchez could be very good for Brighton. Now, so best teams are at the top, worst teams are at the bottom. So Brighton, where do I want a potential goalkeeper to potentially come in? So we're looking at game week 3. We're looking at 3, 5, 7, 9, 10, maybe 16 and 18. So 3, 5, 7, 10. 3, 5, 7, 9, 10. 16 and 18. So who has good fixtures in 3 that has a cheap goalkeeper? Well, Arsenal. Don't need Arsenal because they have a 5 million goalkeeper. Don't need Liverpool because they have a 6 million goalkeeper. Don't need Spurs because they have a 5.5 million goalkeeper. Watford could have a 4.5 million goalkeeper. Wolves have a 5 million goalkeeper. Leicester have a 5 million goalkeeper. Southampton could have a 4.5 million goalkeeper. West Ham have a 5 million goalkeeper. Chelsea have a 6 million goalkeeper. Brentford have a 4.5 million goalkeeper. Everton have a 5 million goalkeeper. City have a 6 million goalkeeper. Villa have a 5.5 million goalkeeper. Burnley have a 5.5 million goalkeeper. United have a 5 million goalkeeper. Newcastle have a 4.5 million goalkeeper. Leeds have a 5 million goalkeeper. Palace have a 4.5, and Norwich have a 4.5. So Brighton, again, so who has a good fixtures in 3 and 5? So 3 and 5, the best fixtures for 3 and 5, Watford has Spurs away, Norwich away, so that's not terrible. Newcastle away, Man City away for Southampton isn't great. Norwich have Leicester and Watford, and Newcastle have Southampton and Leeds. So again, that's probably the best. So Newcastle looking as the front runner. In 7, they have Wolves away, so that's not terrible. In 9 and 10, they have Crystal Palace and Chelsea. That's probably the one only sticking point, I would say there. Then they have... when Newcastle have Norwich, Brighton have West Ham away, so it could be good there. When Newcastle play Leicester away, Brighton have Spurs at home. Now, without Harry Kane, that could be quite easy for them. And then Brighton have Wolves at home and Liverpool away for Newcastle. So again, it could be a good rotation, but it also could be a situation where you could just bite the bullet, against the likes of Leicester, against the likes of Man City, against the likes of Man United, and just basically just go with a 4.5 and a 4.0, which is definitely possible. For Brighton, and I think Sanchez is probably going to be one of the, the popular picks, as it were. So 4.0 goalkeeper. We're just going to go with the cycling man himself, Ben Foster, because he could be a starter. We don't know. In defense, Liverpool, I think, is quite easy to go for. Trent Alexander-Arnold just makes the most sense. Another good defender, Man United. They have good fixtures off the start as well in the opening 6 with Luke Shaw. And he could easily be ditched for another 5.5 million defender who has good fixtures from 7 onwards. So from 7 onwards, in terms of defense, I mean, Arsenal have a decent run of fixtures. Chelsea have a very good run of fixtures there as well. Leeds isn't bad as well. So again, could be easily swapped to a very good defender. And then defenders that rotate well with Lamptey potentially. We're looking at another 4.5 million. So we need somebody who has a good fixture in 3, in 5, and let's say 9 and 10. So 3, 5, 9, and 10. So 3 for defense. You got West Ham. Man United home's not great. 9 and 10, again, not ideal. So Leicester, Norwich away. 5 would be they play against Brighton. 9 and 10, Brentford and Arsenal. So a Leicester defender is probably about makes the most sense to me. And I think Wesley Fofana is just too good to be true. I think Wesley Fofana is just too good to be true. There at 4.5 million just seems to be too easy, personally. So now we got 43.5 million here. 43.5 million left, and we got to fill up 6 slots rather. We have to fill up 6 slots. So let's see what we can do. Right. So midfield, Fernandes for United just makes a lot of sense as well. I think he's pretty much a no-brainer. Also midfield, I want to put in Jack Grealish because I think he's just that good. I think at 8 million, he's definitely being overlooked. Could be quite easily positioned there. Cheaper midfielders, we have Leeds. And I think that the likes of Rafinha could be very, very good. Let's move to midfielders, and we'll change the price to 4.5 because we're going to go with a cheaper midfielder. So you got Bissouma, Brownhill, Douglas Luiz, Ramey, Oneni, Alan, MacArthur, Sissoko, Mendy, Longstaff, Hayden, Matic, Cork, Diallo, Ramsey, Nakamba, Noble, Gibbs White, Motor. I mean, there's a bunch of different names you could pick in there. Shackleton, Pavetta, all could be quite interesting. But we would just go with the pretty simple one in Bissouma, just because we know he's going to play week in, week out. I don't think there's anyone else of any interest that could be like getting a move someplace or could be any good, basically. And then forwards, we have basically a 7 million and a 5.5, or we have a 6.5 and a 6. So let's look at forwards. And if we look at 6.5 million, I think the one that screams out the most to me personally is Ivan Toney. So I think we could potentially put him in there, as he has a decent opening set of fixtures. Crystal Palace, Villa, Brighton, Wolves could all be decent fixtures for him there. He is a cheaper forward, so could be a bit tricky if we do, or if we were to get rid of him in the opening set. If just trying to think here. If we go for the Watkins double up as well with Jack Grealish, that could be very enticing as well, because we can always switch to Jimenez in game week 4 or another 7.5 million. So I think that price point could be quite crucial. And if they don't work out in the opening 3, then it could be just bin them off. Which would mean we'd have to downgrade elsewhere. Which is going to be quite interesting. Mount instead of Fernandes. Well, I don't like Chelsea's fixtures to start, to be perfectly honest. Yeah, I don't like Chelsea's fixtures to start with. Like they have Crystal Palace, yeah, they have Arsenal, but Liverpool, Spurs, Man City. I mean, short term it's not terrible, but again, are you gonna go without Bruno Fernandes off the start? Probably not. Leeds, Southampton, Wolves, Newcastle, Aston Villa, West Ham. I don't think that's smart. And the thing is, with Fernandes, what you want is somebody who you can swap to potentially, like De Bruyne as an example, for 12 million. So Fernandez's fixtures start to suck around what? So game week 7, 8-ish, they start to be terrible, basically. De Bruyne's fixtures from 7 to 8 are like not bad. So De Bruyne from 7 to 10, you could probably bring him in. Yeah, he plays against Liverpool. Maybe you keep Fernandes versus Everton, so you bring him in for 3. Fernandes then from 11 until like, yeah, he plays City at home, not great, but then he plays Watford. Chelsea away isn't terrible either, but then has a ridiculous run. So what you could do is take Fernandes out in 7, then bring De Bruyne in for those next 3 from 8 to 10. And then if we look, does anyone have a good enough fixture from, let's say, 11 to 14? So let's take a look at that. 11 to 14 for attack. So 11 to 14, Wolves is up there, Chelsea's up there. So maybe that's when we bring in Mason Mount as an example, maybe. If Chelsea get Haaland, you'll bring him in? Oh yeah, probably. A lot of things change with transfers too, right? This is obviously all speculation. But yeah, this is all speculation. But I think starting off with Fernandes and swapping him to De Bruyne in 8 could be the trick, maybe. But again, if Kane starts at City, it's going to be very difficult not to get Kane in, right? That's another thing. So yeah, we're struggling a bit on cash here. So how are we going to manage this? So basically, the forward that we want is Tony. So we need 1.5 million from somewhere. So how are we going to do this? Potentially have to sacrifice Grealish, maybe, even though I would not want to do that because he's just too good. Are Liverpool's, fixtures off the start defense-wise, are they good enough? Norwich, Burnley, Leeds, Crystal Palace, and Brentford. They could be very, very good. But a lot of things go through Watkins, so maybe if he gets the chance created for him, he's going to be the one putting the ball in the back of the net. That could be the intriguing point. Let's look at the other midfielders. Let's look at like 7 million. Sort by price. So you got Zaha, James, Madison, Barnes. I mean, Leicester's fixtures off the start are not terrible. So maybe they could be interesting. Again, Ferran Torres would be an interesting shout. Saka's fixtures off the start aren't ideal. But again, he's so influential that he could be quite good. Could be interesting. I mean, if Buendia comes in and is ridiculously good and plays every game in that number 10 role and Grealish plays out on the left and Buendia is the one playing, then I would go with something like that. And just go with the double up with Villa, keep him in the opening 3. And then come game week 4, when Wolves' fixtures get good, maybe swap Watkins for Jimenez, and then maybe swap out Buendia for, I don't know, who's got a good attack from 4 to 8, let's say. Let's see. I mean, Wolves just has a really good stretch, just in general. I mean, Leeds. I mean, if Harrison's back here, you know, you can go from Buendia to the likes of Harrison, and that still saves you an extra 0.5 as well. So yeah, it is very, very tricky, very, very tricky. For right now, I'm gonna put all players. I'm gonna put total points. I'm gonna take him out. I'm gonna put in Watkins. Or maybe I look at a 5.5 million midfielder, maybe. Am I overlooking those potentially? Midfielders. Is there any like 5.5 million midfielder gems in there? I mean, we know Dallas, obviously, but is Dallas going to be playing like that and getting the same returns? I don't know. It is a bit difficult to know. And again, is anyone from the promoted teams going to be doing well? That's something that could be quite tricky. But someone who also intrigues me is, I mean, you can just go for like Watford Sarr. Where's Sarr? There he is. At 6 million, which means we can upgrade our forward slot from Ivan Toney to somebody who costs 7 million. So we go to forwards, 7 million. You know, it doesn't really get much much better. I mean, you just have Woods and or Wood and Adams rather. Not really much else. It's a 7.5 that you're kind of looking at. 7.5 gets you Richarlison, it gets you Wilson, it gets you Antonio. So maybe there's a downgrade on Trent potentially. So if you go Trent for Robertson, then you can go from Tony and then go for another forward here. Maybe a Callum Wilson off the start potentially. Maybe an Antonio. Maybe you go for the double up with Richarlison and Calvert-Lewin. Antonio's fixtures off the start, how are they? Pretty damn good. So maybe Antonio's the one to go with. That could be a possibility. The 5.5 million slot isn't as good as what it was last season. But again, Sarr could also be Harrison too. But I think that looks like a pretty good team, personally. Would I like to have Trent? Of course, but I can always downgrade one of the defenders. So let's enter the squad. What's my team name going to be this season? What is my... So my favorite club is obviously Man United. We all know that. We'll agree to terms and conditions. What is going to be my team name? I got to think of something creative. I'm really trying to think of a team name. Can't think of anything creative at the moment, so I'll just put Flames Recruits just for now. And I'll think of a team name later on, because you can always change it. Yeah, so you should be able to change it later. So if you go to team details, Flames Recruits, yeah, this is where you can edit like your team and change the name. So the shirt color, we're gonna do what shirt color we go with this season? Let's go with something a bit different. Let's go with something I normally wouldn't go for. Let's go for like maybe like a Watford colored jersey. We have some stripes. Go with the black stripes maybe. No room for racism. We'll put that on there too. The shorts, gotta go with yellow. We'll go with the black socks. Sock style, we'll go with hoops. And they're gonna be yellow hoops, of course. Yeah, sure. Let's go with that for a kit. That looks nice. Nice kit. Right. So if I was setting this team up game week 1, well, Antonio would come in for that, and then maybe Lamptey comes in and plays ahead of Rafinha, who has Man United on the opening day. Maybe Lamptey comes in and we play 4-3-3. And then we go Rafinha, Fofana. Like that. Make Salah the old captain. And then we put, I guess, Fernandez vice captain. So yeah, that's team as it stands. I also don't understand. Is there a way for me to make this slightly smaller so you can see the whole team? There we go. That looks a little bit better. Because for some reason when I maximize it like that or put it in 100%, things get slightly cut off, but I guess I can leave it like that and it should be fine. But yeah, could definitely be quite interesting in terms of rotation on defenders. So we have Lamptey, Sarr, Rafinha, and Fofana. So what's that? Brighton, Watford, Leicester, and Leeds. So Brighton, Leeds, Watford, and Leicester was the other team. So in the opener, the 3 best is Watford, Leicester, and Burnley. Then Brighton have Watford at home. Leeds have Everton at home. Watford have Brighton away. So maybe I'd go for Rafinha in week 2. Week 3, Leicester, Norwich away could be good, but Leeds have Burnley away, so maybe I go with Rafinha. Liverpool at home would be tricky, so I'd probably go with the Brighton player. Brentford away. Then I definitely go with the Leeds player. Yeah, we have a good bit of a good. This week's gonna be fun to pick from, but I think with those 4, you can kind of rotate them around. So basically, it's you're playing 2 out of those 4. So in game week 1, you're playing Sarr versus Villa, and either Lamptey or Fofana. In game week 2, you're playing you're playing Lamptey and Rafinha. Game week 3, you're playing Rafinha and Fofana. Game week 4, you're playing Lamptey and Sarr. Game week 5, you're playing Sarr and Rafinha. Game week 6, you're probably playing Sarr and probably still Rafinha. Game week 7, you're playing Rafinha and Sarr probably. Game week 8, you're probably playing Rafinha and Lamptey. So yeah, good little rotation. But yeah, this is the team. What's my ID? So the ID I got was 280913. That's very easy to figure out. That's a nice ID. 280913. Nice and easy ID, I think. Nice and easy ID. So I'm gonna create this this league and have it ready by the time we do the next stream and whatnot. So let's talk FPL League. I'm already in it because I get put in automatically apparently. Same with the FPL Wire League. Gonna have to rejoin all the rest of them though. Like the Milk Carton Cup from 90 Min and all that sort of stuff. So that's gonna be a whole lot of fun. But yeah, it's been a long stream. We've looked at basically every team. I've come up with a team that I quite like actually, and obviously a plan to get to trade out Watkins if I need to. I still want Grealish in there somewhere, and I'm not sure if I can go without Fernandes. But one thing that would be interesting is if Jadon Sancho does come into United and he does come in cheaper than Fernandes, which would make things quite enticing, because it'd be a situation where, let's say Fernandes is 12 million and Jadon Sancho's a 10.5 10.5 million player. So are there any midfielders or any players that are 10.5? Well, Son's the closest thing, and he's 10 million. So let's say we have an extra 0.5 on top of that, or so we only have 1.5 million. Then we could upgrade. So we have 1.5 million. So this could be, Alexander-Arnold, which would leave us with 1 million. And then we could upgrade. Potentially somebody else that we want. Don't know who that would be, but that's what we could do if we wanted to go that route. Maybe a Sarr goes up and turns into like a Barnes or somebody like that for Leicester, and then basically you'd have Sancho and Salah. You'd still have your same front line, or maybe this is still Grealish. If Sancho's 10 million, then you could just go. Then you can have Robertson. You can have Sancho, Grealish, Salah in the midfield with Robertson as your defender. That would be great if Sancho came in at 10 million. But we will see how that works. But yeah, I think that might just about do it for the old stream today. But this is the team that I've gone with. So far, we got Sanchez, Digne, Robertson, Shaw, Lamptey, Salah, Fernandes, Sarr, Antonio, Calvert-Lewin, Watkins, Foster, actually. It's Ben Foster, not Forster. Rafinha, Fofana, Bissouma. I think that looks to be a pretty solid team. Looks fairly template-ish on paper. And we have a good rotation between Lamptey, Sarr, Rafinha and Fofana for fixtures. So, and with Sanchez, we're just going to play him week in, week out in goal because he just has good fixtures. And he's just a very good goalkeeper. So, yeah, I think that's going to do it. So let's move over to the big screen and let you know what's going to be going on over the next few weeks. So, FPL is finally live, which means we're going to be doing videos. So the game officially launches, well, it has launched, but the game officially like kicks into play on Friday, August the 13th. So the number of days that we have between now and then, so we have the remainder of this week. So we have 1 week, 2 weeks, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then it starts on the 8th week. So basically we have just under 8 weeks from now. So what I'm actually going to try to do is obviously finish the Manchester United career mode. And what we're also going to do is I'm going to do like like what to look out for, I think, for every team. I'm going to have to do my research a little bit, which will probably take a few days to do for each team. So over the next day or two, I'm actually going to be setting up some things as well, and we're going to see what things look like basically for that front. But that's going to be 20 videos basically when you think about it. So 8 weeks, if you divide that out for an even number of days, 8 times 5, if you don't include the weekends, is 40. So you're looking at basically a video every other midweek day. So if you're looking at basically 2 to 3 a week, depending on how it kind of rolls around, with potentially some Man United career modes thrown in there, and some Euro stuff potentially in terms of like the finals watch along and whatever else in there as well. So be sure on the lookout for that. Tomorrow won't be doing a stream at all. I'm going to be trying to get my lights set up, all the different angles for the camera that I was looking forward to last season. Wasn't able to get it in time. Took a long time to get in. Had to work out some things with the lights and stuff. Still didn't get it to work out. So I'm going to be working on that tomorrow for sure. I also have, if you go over on Twitter, I did a tweet, and it's the new thumbnails basically. So let me know which thumbnail you think. It's basically just which Pilot Flame logo I use. So which thumbnail do you think looks the best? Let me know, and let me know on Twitter. So because we're gonna be these thumbnails behind me, we're gonna be putting in some new ones. I was doing that over the weekend, and then yeah, we're gonna be putting a lot of public stats tables over on Fantasy Football Scout. So make sure to go get your subscription over there so that you can see my public stats tables. I'm going to be giving you guys the stats tables that I use for my videos, for like captaincy, for team selection, for players to target, all that stuff. That's how I'm going to be setting up and transferring the data so that when I go to do the videos, you see exactly what type of tables that I'm using. And that's exactly what I'm going to be doing. So yeah. Thank you all for watching. FPL is live. Don't get too carried away. There's still 8 weeks to go before the game actually officially starts. And hopefully we will have our team sorted in 8 weeks' time. Because if we don't, we're going to be scrambling. And this time, I ain't going without Salah this time, because that's just going to be stupid, which I did last time and ultimately paid for it. So yeah, keep it simple in this one. But yeah, thank you all for watching. And until the next one, take care.